Good morning, my dear students. Today we shall begin with the 10th part of the chapter Demand. In the previous two parts, we had discussed about price elasticity of demand. We saw that there are two methods to calculate it, that is percentage change method and proportionate method. And we even solved a few numericals on the basis of those formulas. So the topic for today is degrees of elasticities of demand. When prices of different commodities change, the quantity demanded of each commodity reacts in a different manner. For example, demand of medicine responds very less to a change in price as compared to air conditioner. So, degree of responsiveness of quantity demanded to change in price may differ, and hence elasticity of demand could also differ. So we saw that there are different types of products, and different type of products react in a different manner. If a product is a necessary item, that is medicines or food, then the demand for that product is not going to be very elastic even if the price rises. But if a product is a comfort good, that is a product that gives comfort to people, for example fan, its demand would be more elastic as compared to the demand of necessary items. And the third type of item is luxurious item, for example air conditioners. The demand for those luxurious items are very elastic because people can easily live without it. It is just that these products make their life much more luxurious, much more comfortable, and as a result, whenever there is a rise in the price of AC, there is more than proportionate decline in its demand. So there are various degrees of elasticity that we need to study, and the first one is perfectly elastic demand. When there is an infinite demand at a particular price and demand becomes zero with a slight rise in price, then demand for such a commodity is said to be perfectly elastic. In such a case, elasticity of demand is infinite and demand curve is horizontal straight line parallel to x-axis. So in this degree, the elasticity of demand is infinite. People can demand for infinite amount of the product at the same price, but whenever there is a slight rise in the price, the demand falls down to zero. As you can see in this schedule, price is given and demand is given. So price remains same, it is rupees 30, but the demand changes, it is increasing. Although price is same, the demand is increasing. And over here in this graph also we can see that price is a straight line, that is also your demand curve. Price has been fixed, and at that same fixed price different quantities are demanded. Okay, the first quantity demanded is Q1 and then Q2, so it varies. It can become less or it can become more. Now this graph is not based on your schedule. This is a general graph where alphabets are used, but when you will answer such questions in examination, you are expected to make a schedule and you need to show the data whatever is mentioned in the schedule on the graph. So in the description it is mentioned that as shown in the above schedule, the quantity demanded can be 100 units, 200 units and so on at the same price of rupees 30. In the graph, quantity demanded can be OQ, OQ1, OQ2 and so on at the same price of OP. Now such kind of degree of elasticity is imaginary when the demand is infinite at fixed price, and as soon as the price rises the demand becomes zero. This particular scenario is completely imaginary. The second degree of elasticity is perfectly inelastic demand. When there is no change in demand with change in price, then demand for such a commodity is said to be perfectly inelastic. In such a case, elasticity of demand is equal to 0 and the demand curve DD is a vertical straight line parallel to y axis. So over here you can see in the schedule that the price is rising. Even then there is no effect on quantity demanded. The quantity demanded is same, and that is why elasticity is 0. It is said to be 0 because there is no change in quantity demanded. There is no reaction that comes from demand point of view. Okay, that is why the demand curve that is made is parallel to y axis, as you can see in this graph. So as shown in the above schedule, quantity demanded remains constant at 100 units whether the price is rupees 20, rupees 30 or rupees 40. In the graph, the quantity demanded remains constant at OQ as the price changes from OP to OP1 or OP2. So whether there is a rise in price or whether there is a fall in price, the quantity demanded is not going to change. And this particular scenario is also imaginary. Now the third degree of elasticity is highly elastic demand. When percentage change in quantity demanded is more than percentage change in price, then demand for such a commodity is said to be highly elastic. In such a case, elasticity of demand is more than 1. The highly elastic demand curve is flatter and its slope is inclined and more towards x-axis. So over here in this schedule you can see that price is decreasing. It has decreased from rupees 20 to rupees 10 and the demand has increased from 100 units to 200 units. And over here in this graph as well you can see that when there is a little change in price, it leads to more than proportionate change, more than the same change in quantity demanded. And that is why the demand curve that is made over here in this graph is very flat. It is more towards x-axis because the elasticity of demand is more than 1. The reaction from quantity demanded point of view is more than what is there in price. So as seen in the schedule, the quantity demanded rises by 100% due to a 50% fall in price. In the graph, the quantity demanded rises from OQ to OQ1 with a fall in price from OP to OP1. There is an error. As QQ1 is proportionately more than PP1, the elasticity of demand is more than 1. The commodities like AC, DVD player, etc. are generally have high elasticity of demand. Whenever there is a rise in the price of commodities like AC, people tend to postpone their purchase, and as a result, the quantity demanded decreases more than the proportionate change in price. The fourth degree of elasticity is less elastic demand. When percentage change in quantity demanded is less than percentage change in price, the demand for such a commodity is said to be less elastic or inelastic. In such a case, elasticity of demand is less than 1. The less elastic demand curve is steeper and its slope is inclined and more towards y-axis. So as you can see over here in the schedule itself, that price has decreased from 20 to 10, but the demand is increasing by very less amount. It increased from 100 units to 120 units. And as a result, as you can see over here in the graph, the price has decreased from OP to OP1, which is a great decrease, but the quantity demanded increases with a very less amount, and as a result, the demand curve that is being formed is quite steep and it is very much near to y-axis. As seen in the schedule, the quantity demanded rises by just 20% due to 50% fall in price. In the graph, the quantity demanded rises from OQ to OQ1 with a fall in price from OP to OP1. QQ1 is proportionately less than PP1. So the elasticity of demand is less than 1. Commodities like salt, vegetable, etc. generally have less elastic demand. So the commodities that are very necessary, they do not have a very elastic kind of a demand. The demand is going to remain more or less the same for these commodities. The last degree of elasticity is unitary elastic demand. When percentage change in quantity demanded is equal to percentage change in price, then demand for such a commodity is said to be unitary elastic. In this case, elasticity of demand is equal to 1 and the demand curve is a rectangular hyperbola. Rectangular hyperbola is a curve under which the total area at all points will be the same. So under unitary elastic demand, the elasticity of demand is equal to 1, which means that there is a proportionate change in price as well as its quantity demanded. Over here we can see that price decreases by 50% and as a result the quantity demanded increases exactly by 50%. And when it is plotted in a graph, then we can see a rectangular hyperbola being made. A rectangular hyperbola is a curve under which any point has got the total area to be the same. For example, the area of OPLQ will be the same as OP1RQ1. It is going to be the same. Or if there would have been any other point in between or on this particular graph, demand curve, then the area of that point as well would have been the same. So as seen in the schedule, the quantity demanded rises by 50% with a 50% fall in the price. In the graph, the quantity demanded rises from OQ to OQ1 with a fall in price from OP to OP1, as QQ1 is proportionately equal to PP1. The elasticity of demand is equal to 1. Commodities like scooter, refrigerator, etc. generally have unitary elastic demand. So all those commodities that make our life comfortable, they show a unitary elastic demand. If there is a fall in price, there will be a proportionate change in quantity demanded. So these were the 5 degrees of elasticity of demand. Now, slope and elasticity are very different from each other. It is not possible to draw any inference about elasticity by merely looking at the slope of a curve. Slope of a curve and its elasticity are not the same. Slope of a demand curve measures the flatness or steepness of the demand curve and is therefore based on absolute change in price and quantity. On the other hand, price elasticity of demand is concerned with percentage change in price and quantity. So slope and elasticity are completely different from each other. Slope refers to the absolute change that is taking place, and elasticity refers to the percentage change in price and quantity demanded. As a result, these two are completely different from each other. So today we have studied about 5 degrees of elasticity of demand. The first one is perfectly elastic, where elasticity of demand is equal to infinity, and the demand curve that is made for perfectly elastic is parallel to y-axis. The second one that we studied is perfectly inelastic demand, where elasticity of demand is equal to 0 and the demand curve is made parallel to y-axis. The third one that we studied was highly elastic, where elasticity of demand is more than 1, and as a result we can see that the percentage change in demand is more than percentage change in price. The fourth one is less elastic demand, where elasticity of demand is less than 1, which means that percentage change in demand is less than percentage change in price. And the last one was unitary elastic demand, where elasticity of demand is equal to 1. So over here, percentage change in demand is equal to percentage change in price, and as a result the demand curve that is made is exactly 45 degrees. So you need to know the shape of all the demand curves that are to be made. And that is it for today. These are few assignment questions. The first one is your theoretical question, that is define unitary elastic demand and draw a demand curve for it. What is the significance of unitary elastic demand curve? Now students, demand curve for unitary elastic demand is made by 2 ways. One is rectangular hyperbola and the other one is a straight line that is exactly 45 degrees. Okay. Now the other 3 questions are numerical questions that you need to solve. So that is it for today. Thank you.